Hey, hey everybody. So, I was going back through some old notes of mine, and I realized there are some things that I've taken notes on over the course of the years that are really worth reflecting back upon. And one of them is this Christian D. Larson, 7 Steps to Making Your Ideal Real. And I originally heard this on Brian Scott's podcast, or like one of his episodes, where he read from this book. And there are just some really, really good golden nuggets in here, guys. It's a little bit, there's a lot in here, but I decided to kind of distill like the most important points and the things that I think are the most important. And yeah, basically distill that down, and let's go over what that is. So do not recognize the gulf that seems to exist between present state and the state we desire to reach. Continue with conviction. That gulf is only seeming. Inwardly know that ideal will soon be realized. We cannot afford to entertain fears. We must remember that fear and despondency retard progress. More frequently we permit the mind to fall down, the longer we will wait. When we continue to pursue the ideal, we ascend into larger and larger mental states. Move forward. To move forward depends on how rapidly you are moving now. Knowing this, remove mental states of fear and doubt. Have an attitude of positive conviction, and this will be realized sooner or later. Move forward steadily, surely and rapidly during every moment of the great eternal now. Realize now as much of the ideal as we care to appropriate now, as you care to appropriate now. To begin to move forward is to begin to make the real the ideal. To move forward steadily is to become more than you are, to become more and more like your ideal. If all time and energy wasted in yearning were employed in scientific, practical self-development, we would realize the ideal, because we attract from the without what corresponds exactly to what is active in our own within. When attained in our own nature, we will meet the ideal in the world. We may find the same things in the real that we dreamed of in the ideal. When we see an ideal, we usually begin to long for it and hope that something remarkable may happen to bring it into our own possession. And continue to long and yearn and wait with periods of despondency intervening. We simply use up time and energy to no avail. When we see an ideal, the proper course to pursue is to begin at once to develop that ideal in our own nature. Never stop to wait and see whether it is coming true or not. Never stop to figure out how much time is needed. The secret is to begin now, to be like your ideal, and at the proper time that ideal will be revealed. The very moment you begin to rebuild yourself in the exact likeness of your ideal, you begin to realize that you're ideal. Because we invariably gain possession of what we become conscious of. Giving thought to time stops time and consciousness. Real progress is forward movement. Live life in the life of eternal progress, gaining ground every moment. Perpetual increase of everything that has value, greatness, and worth. All beautiful things which we have dreamed of will come into our world, new arrivals every day, constantly growing larger and more desirable. When we discern an ideal, it has come within the circle of our own capacity for development. Thus we realize that when discerned, it is therefore at hand. The mind never discerns ideals that were beyond possibility of present development. It is proof we have the power to make it real now. Perpetual ascension to all that is rich, beautiful, and sublime, whether we speak of environments, attainments, achievements, possessions, circumstances, opportunities, friends, companions, or scores of things that belong in our world, the law is the same. We receive an ideal only when we become just like that ideal. If we seek better friends, must develop higher degrees of friendship. We wish to associate with more refined people, to become more refined in action, thought, and speech. In the world of achievement, must develop greater ability, capacity, and power. If we desire better environments, we must not only learn to appreciate the beautiful, but develop power to produce those things that have true quality, high worth, and real superiority. The secret is to become more useful in the world, in the largest and highest sense of the word. He who gives his best to the world will receive the best in return. The world needs people who can do things that are thoroughly worthwhile, think great thoughts, and transform into great deeds. Proceed to develop greatness, superiority, high worth in yourself, and train the mind to dwell constantly upon the borderland of the highest ideals you can possibly picture. But do not simply yearn for what you can see, and do not covet what has not yet become your own. Proceed to remake yourself in the likeness of that ideal, and it will become your own. I know I've just been reading from this so far, but I really want to, that point right there, do not covet what has not yet become your own. That is a really, really good point. That is what and what the points that he keeps making this point about not yearning for what we don't already have. That's where we get it fucked up, guys, is the yearning, the longing. We put ourselves in an emotional place where we are now at opposition. We're energetically putting a barrier between ourselves and that thing. When I think of the word covet, I think of, you know, those Disney movies with like Jafar, for example, or like any of these kings, they're really greedy. It's like, that's what I think of, like the covetousness, like coveting all the gold and all the riches and being like, oh yeah, like all of this, like I get to have all this now through like hook or crook. It wasn't like, I wasn't deserving of it, but I'm like coveting it because it's like, it's making me better, or like it is the value. I'm not the value. The value doesn't come from me. It comes from like all the gold and all these like material possessions that I'm now coveting. Now, I'm not exactly sure. I could look up the exact definition of covet. Let's see what it says here. To feel strong or a moderate desire for, and then it says in parentheses, that which is another's. There it is, guys, right there in the definition. It's showing you that you don't believe that it's yours. You don't believe that it belongs to you. Feeling a moderate desire for that which is another's. That's why, like, coveting the things that we covet, usually they could be like for, okay, I covet having this particular partner or the opposite sex that I don't think is mine, or I don't think I'm worthy of, so I'm gonna covet it. Or I covet this experience, like I caught myself in the video that I just posted, coveting Coachella, or like the VIP experience of Coachella, or the opportunity to experience these supposedly exclusive and high-end experiences and invitations of being invited to the freaking, you know, fashion week in Paris or something. Like, my coveting that shows within the emotion itself, it shows that it is not mine, that which is another's. I feel that it's like the imposter syndrome. Like, I don't believe that it's really real for me, so therefore I covet it. Otherwise you wouldn't have that. And then it says to wish for something longingly, to desire, to covet that which is another's. So, yeah, that is like a very good description of, I think, what happens to us a lot when we're trying to attain something, when we're trying to get, like he said, it could be an experience, it could be a companion, all these other things. He says, but do not simply yearn for what you can see, and do not covet what has not yet become your own. Proceed to remake yourself in the likeness of that ideal, and it will become your own. Just to get into an example of this, when I began promoting in LA, there had been a while that I had been wanting to go to these venues and you know, for the networking, for the ability to meet the certain people that go there. There's a lot of attractive people that go there. There's a lot of well-connected people. There's a lot of people in the fashion industry, in the music industry, there's influencers. You know, there's a lot of people with a lot of clout or a lot of panache. There's just like, that is the type of scene that you'd want to be on, where you want to constantly be meeting more and more people, where you can increase your network of high value people, or whatever word that you want to put there, celebrity type people, influential people, whatever word that resonates with you, fill in the blank. And so I wanted to do that. And for a while I had this longing, I had this yearning for wanting to be there. And when I very first got to LA, actually I had a job in nightlife, but it was at a different venue. And I had a friend that actually brought me out to one of these clubs one time. And like really right when I first got there, and I still didn't realize, what was really good, and like what, that these were like the specific clubs where I didn't realize like the whole game. And because the bouncer knew my friend, he was like, oh yeah, you're in, but like you, and he like looked at me, he's like, just give me like $40, I think it was. And me, in my mind at the time, I didn't want to give him $40 because I just was resistant to it. I was like, man, why should I have to pay $40 when like my friend just got in for free? And so I didn't end up going in. But if I would have, it could have changed my trajectory, because I ended up later, like years later, working for the same company that nightclub was a part of. And if I would have gone in at that time, who knows who I would have met? Maybe I would have started doing it earlier. And I was blocking myself from having that opportunity or having that experience. And even later on, when I wanted it, I was like, wait, I want to do this. Like, I've had friends that had done it and whatever, and I'd been to a couple of these clubs, and it's just like had such a fun time that I was like, man, I need to do this. But I was longing for it, I was yearning for it. And it wasn't until I put my money where my mouth is, so to speak, or whatever, like he said, remake yourself in the likeness and that ideal, where I actually went. So I found out there was a restaurant that was right next to one of these clubs, and it's on La Cienega Boulevard. If you know, then you know probably what restaurant I'm talking about and the club I'm talking about. But I just went there one night because I knew I had one guy that I knew that he met up with the people, before he went in. So I went there and I was like, okay, like, let me just talk to see what's good. I dressed the part, I remade myself in the likeness of this type of scene. Like all the types of guys and people that go to these places, there's a certain kind of style and way that they dress and way that they carry themselves, and just like that whole thing. So I was doing that. I was embodying it, and I was just talking, and I talked to the guy, and I met this guy, and I was like, yeah, like, let me like bring some people out. And that's how my whole thing with the promoting in LA like started. It was like, it's what he's describing. Proceed to make yourself in the likeness. Proceed to get closer and closer to that likeness. Stop the longing, stop the coveting. Okay, continuing on with this. There's a new way of thinking about things, doing things, based on a principle that ideal is actually real, not as a future possibility, but as a present actuality. Think as if it is real, and you will find it to be real. Meet all things as if they contain the ideal, and you will find that all things present their ideals to you. Not merely as pictures, but as realities. View the whole of life from the heights of existence. When you deal with things accordingly, you will see the better side. When you grow into the likeness of the better side of all things, you will attract the better side of all things, and the ideal of everything in the world will be made real in your world. Okay, so he goes, the general principles, there's 7 principles here that he lists off. So learn to be still. When you undertake to live an ideal life and seek advancement in all directions, you will find that you find much cannot be attained until your entire being is placed in a proper condition for growth. You must improve yourself before you can better your life. All laws of growth require order, harmony, and stillness. When you begin to live the larger life, you will want to use properly all of your forces, neither misusing or wasting anything. Now this is an important point, because a lot of the time, myself included, I don't know if I'm mentally prepared for this larger life. I don't know, I've talked about before, I want to make music, I wanted to be famous, but there's a part of me that I have to acknowledge on here. It is the fear of success. It is the fear of, What if I did achieve all this success, all this fame? There's a lot of examples of people in our world, like Mac Miller, like Juice WRLD, where, you reach these high heights, and then it's like the story of Icarus, where you reach so close to the sun that you get your wings burned and then you fall. So there's all kinds of things that we have going on subconsciously that are, and what he's saying is very true. Like, if you cultivate that stillness, and this is what Eckhart Tolle talks about, this detachment, this poise, and this kind of relaxation type energy that permeates you at all times, so that you're not like frantically doing this or that. He mentions that here as well. Then maybe you'd be able to sustain this larger life. But if you're going at it from this place of lack, and you're doing it to achieve this outer validation or whatever, maybe it is very unsustainable, and that is why these things happen. And you either get these scandals, or people that, they can't take it anymore. There's a lot that goes with having a lot of success, and I don't know, subconsciously, I think that we are, maybe those are safety mechanisms that are there because we don't know. We don't know if we can really handle it. So he says, to acquire stillness, never try hard. Simply exercise general self-control in everything you do. Never be anxious about results. They will come with less effort and in less time. Whenever you have a moment to spare, relax the whole person, mind and body. Just let everything fall into the easiest position possible. Never try to relax, simply let go. So long as you try to relax, you will not succeed. While in this condition, be quiet. Do not move a muscle. Breathe deeply. Think of peace and stillness. Before sleep at night, relax the entire system. Fall asleep with peace in mind. While at work, hold self from anxious hurry or disturbed action. Work in an attitude of poise, and you will accomplish much more in the same given time, and be a far better workman by ordering all actions to harmonize with a peaceful goal in view. I talked about this the other day. There's a lot to be said for what he's talking about here. And like I said, I had a friend that said, hold your value, hold your presence, hold your awareness. And that's what he's describing here. Avoid the hurried action, avoid the frantic, trying to get shit, it's almost like you're lacking self-respect in a way, or you're lacking, you're definitely lacking poise, you're lacking a composed, calm energy that is the state where you want to be acting from. Like I said, on a meta level or on a more micro level, when you're acting like this, it's not going to come across right either, because it's not coming from the right place. 2, rejoice and be glad. Cheerfulness is food for the mind and body. To be happy always is one of the greatest things man can do. No matter what happens, be glad and live in conviction that all things are working together for the good of you. You will cause this no matter how dark the cloud looks. Look for the silver lining. When you always look for the bright side of things, you develop brightness in yourself. I used to have a thing written on my wall that said, focus on the light. It was a great reminder. I should have that up again. The brightness will strengthen all faculties, so you can easily overcome whatever obstacles may be in your way, and thus gain the victory desired. Refuse to consider any other side. Do not try hard. Gently direct attention to the sunny side. That's so on point. Do not try hard. Just gently redirect your attention. And that's what we're talking about. When we come through from this place of poised, where our energy is poised and we're holding our presence, we have the ability to do that, because we're not in this fight or flight type of reactive type state. And that is the only way that we'll be able to do that. Gently direct the attention to the advantage, as they say, like as Adam New Zealand would say. The value of this attainment is very great. First, because joyousness will increase life, power, energy, and force. This we all know from personal experience, and we wish to have all the life power we can possibly secure. Second, the happiest soul never worries, which is a great gain. Worry has crippled thousands of fine minds and brought millions to an early grave. We simply cannot afford to worry and must never do so under any condition whatsoever. If we have the habit, we can remove it at once by the proper antidote, which is joyousness. After having trained yourself to look only for the bright and best, they will come to you, because you will be using your powers to bring them to come to pass. When you do not feel joyous music, produce it within your own imagination. Yeah, man. It's corroborating right along with, Adam Zeland's teachings and a lot of other stuff that we cover on here. 3, love everybody and be kind. If you wish your path to be strung with roses, give the best to the world and the world will return it. Refuse to consider disappointments. Never hold in mind those things you do not wish to retain. That which you let go of from mind will pass away from you entirely. No one can be his best by thinking or speaking of the negatives of life. When people do wrong, do not condemn, help them, give abundantly. When you begin to live an ideal life, your purpose must be to be useful in the larger sense of the term. Although this does not mean that you are imposed upon or unjustly used, a strong, continuous love will bring all good to anyone. 4, have faith in abundance, in self, in man, in faith. Believe in everything. Working in faith presses on to the very limit of his capacity and goes even further. Do not permit yourself to doubt. Know that the infinite is your source and you have a boundless supply. If people or things do not come up to your ideal, never mind them, give them time, continue to have faith. Most will, if you live in the faith that they will. The unbounded faith of one man can elevate the doubt of thousands. Yeah, men have risen rapidly because one man had faith in them. I experienced that firsthand. It is extremely powerful, especially when the person that is having faith in you, you believe them, you trust them, you look up to them. Faith is the greatest elevating power that we have in this world. Have faith in yourself and you'll advance as you've never advanced before. Have faith in others and they will inevitably follow. Have faith in abundance. 5, pray without ceasing. Constantly live in that lofty desire. If we use our powers in building up a larger life, we have larger desires. Never desire anything less. Employ the silence daily, the path to the inner world from which everything proceeds. Relax mind and body, close eyes and be perfectly quiet. Affirm with deep feeling peace, it is mine. I'm in the secret space of the Most High. Affirm well, strong, happy, all qualities. Everything important should be taken into the silence. Enable the mind to enter the inner life. When you become conscious of the interior life, you can live in a high, peaceful state most of the time, living in higher realms. Such a prayer will be answered eternally every day. 6, think the truth. Wrong disappears and the right is discerned. Man is a spiritual being in possession of divine attributes, infinite wisdom, power, love, possibilities, waiting for unfoldment. All right, 7, live in the spirit, the good side, the bright side. Anyways, guys, I think those are pretty much all the golden little nuggets that I wanted to drop here. This is a great book. I don't know if it's a whole book or if this was an excerpt from a book, but I got it from Brian Scott's video. And I just wanted to highlight what I thought were just the absolute most inspiring parts and the parts that are just gems. So yeah, I'm gonna leave a link to Brian Scott's video below. Let me know what you guys think about this. Have you guys heard more of Christian D. Larson stuff? It's interesting to me that Neville Goddard has become so popular because there are so many people that talk about these things from different angles, but he somehow has become the most popular, it seems, of all these teachers. But yeah, guys, appreciate you guys. Drop me a like, drop me a comment, and hit the subscribe, and I will see you guys soon.